Welcome to the second show of Crypto Chit Chat with Carmen Crypto. In today's show, I'm going to be sitting down with three fantastic leaders from the Military Finance Token Project. In the seats today, we will have founder Brad Dahl, along with his co founder, Shawn Burst, and then their National Director of Veteran Affairs, Chief of Staff, super cool title, Jerrett Porter. Now, in today's show, we're going to be covering a vast array of topics and in the conversation, but here's some highlights. We're going to be talking today, of course, of these leaders and their origin story into cryptocurrency, also some of the struggles and challenges that leaders experience when they're launching a token. We're going to also talk about the mission of military finance and how they're going to leverage the power of the blockchain in order to accomplish their mission to help veterans and first responders. Sit back and relax and enjoy the show. And if you notice, during this show, I had some audio issues with my microphone. We'll blame it on Mercury retrograde, but still a great conversation to be had. Get excited. Let's learn something new. Enjoy the show. Welcome to Crypto Chit Chat with Carmen Crypto. This is the second show of our podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, I have the leadership team from Military Finance, and I'll introduce them to you here in just a second. Welcome, guys. How are you today?
Doing great.
Yeah, we're doing great. Thank you for having us.
You're so welcome. Let me do some introductions here. So I have Shawn Burst, who is the founder of Military Finance. Welcome. I also have here in the room the National Director of Veteran Affairs, Chief of Staff, Jerrett Porter. Welcome, guys.
Semper Fi.
What a title, Jerrett. How did you get that?
Actually, I kind of just joined the team by wanting to start my own crypto to help veterans, basically. And then I found Military Finance, and the rest is history. I made it my home.
Well, it's a fantastic home to have, and I'm so excited to learn more about it. The way that I can get to know my guests is to learn about what your background is and how you came into the crypto space. So, Shawn, I'll start off with you. Can you tell me what your crypto origin story is?
Probably my first entree was about 4 or 5 years ago when a friend of mine told me about Ethereum. And that was kind of my entry point into it. And then, that's kind of where it ended until, probably a couple of years ago when I got in, some of the meme coins that were going around, I jumped in early on those guys and did good. So it was kind of exciting. And then my friend Brad, who's my partner, called me one night. We got to know each other during COVID because he owns a restaurant also. And I used to go, the gym's closed. And so we'd go work out in the parking lot and I'd go have a coffee at his restaurant. And we became good friends. And he called me one night and he said, "Hey man, like I have this idea that, I think there's a big problem with veterans. And I had some time. I spun up a token on the BSC blockchain and the Binance network." And he said, "I need someone to jump in to do this with me. And here's kind of the idea that I had." And that was it. That was in May. And we jumped in the next morning and was off to the races.
Well, that's fantastic. What did you do before crypto?
So my main business is we own a direct marketing software technology company, and we have a fairly sizable digital and direct marketing agency. So that's my day to day. That's what that's my main job is my software company and my agency. And so that's one of the reasons, Brad, during COVID, when all the other restaurants were closing down because you couldn't be inside and do those things, Brad, and I were brainstorming and we came up with the idea for him to start doing events in the parking lot, movie night by shining it up on the building. And he wound up having the most successful restaurant during COVID because he was able to innovate and think outside the box. And And so, I was involved helping him plan that stuff and bringing the idea to life. And so, it was in the back of his mind, listen, I'm spinning up this token. Brad is an ex-IT guy out of Washington, D.C., very technically adept. And, he handled that side of it. And he's like, this would be a perfect complement to this, because after you get a token launched, really it's a marketing play from that point forward. When you get the dev work done and you get all of the technical things done and the company set up, it's really a straight marketing play. And so that's one of the advantages we have, is we have a built-in team that's already doing this for clients spending significant money. And so he thought I was a good fit for him to partner with. And so that's how we got involved.
That's a pretty cool story. I mean, there's definitely multiple faucets that have to be open in the space of crypto, because what I find is that most origin stories start with a friend of mine and then goes from there.
Yeah.
But then when you're in the space, you understand how necessary it is to market and expose your project to as many people as possible, because it's oversaturated in terms of all the options for brand new tokens that investors can invest in, right? So you have to stand out. So marketing in all different ways, organically and through the traditional methods of exposure, are necessary. Now, I do want to give a shout out to Brad, because he is the founder of Military Finance as well. It's Brad Dahl. And I know that you guys are fully doxed. You guys are all up on your website with your faces up there, full transparency. And you guys are actually in the same building right now, aren't you guys, Shawn?
Yeah. Actually, he's on a call with a client call right now. So he will, as soon as he's done with that, he's going to join us. Yep. But we work out of the same office. Yeah. And we, just from the beginning, we doxed ourselves. We've had a lot of ups and downs, just because we had no idea what we were doing when we jumped in the boat. That he called me at 7:00 one night. At 7:00 the next morning, I had my entire agency team around a table. And by midnight that night, we had worked out all the details, the tokenomics, how everything was gonna flow, and whiteboarded everything. And we finally, like at midnight, we're like, the website got built in a day, and we were off to the races. So he's on a call right now with the client, and then he's gonna jump back on. But that kind of finishes up that story, that he called me, and then the next morning we started, and then it's been a heck of a ride since then.
Things happen so quickly in this space that I think that we're about to compete with Santa's workshop on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Now, Jerrett, for you, go ahead.
I said it's kind of, it gets in your blood. It's one of those things when you experience it. It's like, geez and Pete's, man, it's very hard. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's not a 9 to 5 job. It's not even a 12-hour shift. It's not a double. Sometimes it is a 24/7, type of business that needs attention. And so that can definitely weigh on developers who don't understand that that's the industry timeline, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was definitely it was a 100% a surprise. There's no doubt.
So Jerrett, amazing title as always, but tell me, what is your origin story in crypto? How did you get your foot in the door?
Shoot, it's been a few years now, but my brother-in-law, his brother actually made like $500,000 one year, and it was just from a couple simple small investments. I think he got in an VeChain and ADA and all this other stuff, and just made a ton of money. And they got me into it, and then I traded big cryptos there for a couple of years, did pretty well, and then I started looking into creating my own, like I was mentioning earlier, and I wanted to do one to help veterans. And then stumbled across military finance and made it my home, got highly involved, and started actually going out and doing some of the legwork and helping veterans in person and doing all this awesome stuff. And now I'm officially a part of the team, and it's actually my job. I stay home with my baby, and I do full-time military finance. It's my job to make sure that this project is just a massive success, and it has all of my commitment and time.
You and I met in December, and we had a call so that I could explain to you, what disco burn token was, and you were super excited about military finance. And that's when I found out that you were a stay-at-home father with a brand spanking new baby. How are you doing the 24/7 hours and being a part of a dev team with a big project with babies?
Well, he's kind of like my co-counsel. Half the calls you can hear him on the background, but no, it's a huge blessing. I'm a very blessed man to get to be there with my children, helping veterans, which is kind of a passion of mine, being a Marine and seeing everything I've seen. And then, yeah, I love it. It's a lot of work, though. It really is. When I quit my real job to do this, I was like, oh, I'm going to be able to relax. It's quite the opposite.
You thought being in the military was hard. Now you're in crypto.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, having a coworker to remind you to buy the dip during these times is highly important. So hopefully your son understands the assignment during these times. But let's go back to talking about what you guys are passionate about. Now, we start to see that cryptocurrency really starts to mirror some big, like, targeted audiences that happen in real life. And I say real life, it just means outside of crypto. How are you guys taking your passion to help veterans and first responders and those in the military and leveraging crypto to help expose that mission?
So, the strategy that we're going to use to reach people is fairly diverse. And, in the messaging is always going to be, the beauty of what the blockchain brings to the table, which is, visibility and transparency. And so it's, our approach, although I think, is in line with most other veteran nonprofits, you have this other element of the community, right? That there's a real community in crypto, and we've proven that, with the community we have right now. There's the fact that you're deciding to allocate your funds in a direction that is a new and innovative way of giving, right? And so there's always that what's in it for me. Everybody thinks about, when they're making decision, what's in it for me. And so we can present an alternative solution to the status quo, and then we can highlight why why we think our approach is going to be better, because we're looking at this in a different, I think, from a different perspective as we take money in, is that the fact that we will have a DAO in a community that's going to be choosing the charities and nonprofits and causes and vetting those vendors and building proposals and being a part of actually making the day-to-day decisions. I think that a lot of people out there want to do good, and sometimes just the right opportunity is not presented to them because they're like, I don't know where to get started. Who do I call? How do I do this? Some people just have a hard time getting started, and now you can plug into a community and you can be a part of it that maybe uses a specific treasure or skill or time that you have to actually get in to get involved. And so I think that our message, the uniqueness of it, and then the transparency of how the funds flow, and the visibility that we're going to give them. And the metric for us, there's 17 veterans a day right now in the United States that commit suicide. And so it's a race against time. And so every dollar that's being spent through the charitable giving piece, we're going to have a feedback loop of the success stories. So it's just like in the marketing world. Hey, you have to pay this much to get a lead. You have to pay this much to get an appointment. You got to pay this much to get a customer. We're going to look at these nonprofits and vet them in a way that we're going to champion the people that are doing the work, not with the biggest name, we're going to handle the marketing. We're going to handle building the audience, and we want to find the people. And we already are working with several really innovative companies that are dollar for dollar. Their metric is the same as our metric. Is that veteran's life restored? Can he go live a healthy, fulfilling life because, we've helped him get over the all of the trials and tribulations that happen when you go to war. And that's so I think that story and our approach is just different than what everyone else is saying. And I think it's a new modern way to do things.
Absolutely. I mean, leveraging the technology of the blockchain and using it as a way to really hold on to the opportunity to show integrity, right? With those people that are opening up their pockets and investing in your project, and aligning with your mission. One of the things that really resonated with me about what you said is, there are wounded warriors out there that need our help, right? And there may be an abundance of resources out there, but there can never be enough when it comes to those who have served our country. And I say that because it's personally impacted me. My father was a veteran of the Iraqi war. He went on to 2 tours. He came back with PTSD that was severe and had to go into treatment for 3 years. And it was that trauma. He could have been one of the 17, right? And
Yeah.
so many people out there that you had mentioned, like, you got into crypto and you got introduced to like the community tokens. We call them meme tokens, right?
Yeah.
But you dig a little deeper and you start to find fantastic, nothing against the meme tokens. They have their purpose and they create super engaged communities. They do wildly successful things in terms of their market caps. But there's so many other facets of cryptocurrency. And one of them, is really taking a look at like the charity tokens that are trying to do good both within the space and outside of it. And to your point, you're leveraging that technology, maintaining integrity, and going through a vetting process. But what I loved most was you're empowering your investors to have a voice. That resonates with me so well because of DBT. We have that blockchain vote, right, where you can't skew the numbers. It is what it is, and everybody gets to see it. That transparency is really hard to find in the real world, and that's something unique to cryptocurrency. So I love that you guys speak about that. Jerrett, I can ask you this question. You guys launched on Binance, on this smart chain here, and you guys are anticipating on launching on the Ethereum chain. What was some of the reasons and decisions behind why you went with the Binance first?
Well, originally when Brad and Shawn first launched this, as you heard, it was kind of thrown together. And it's a great idea and a great cause. We've already donated, I think it's over $100,000 now to help veterans and do stuff, not even including some of the direct help that we've been able to do in the meantime. But yeah, it wasn't done the right way. We had a renounced contract, and then everybody loved it. I mean, it just blew up. We went to a 70 million market cap and got huge. And we had all these offers to do really, really cool stuff, but with a renounced contract, we weren't able to make the adjustments that we needed, and kind of left us hanging. So now with this new business Dahl and everything else, we have the ability to do anything and everything we want and grow this just to astronomical numbers and get levels where we're able to help so many veterans that it's just going to be incredible. But now that we got this Ethereum one, it literally is going to have staking. There's a lot of utility. It's going to be used as a payment processor. I mean, it's just limitless stuff, Tough Mudder, all kinds of cool stuff. And now that we have the entire ecosystem, we can grow this as a full-blown business. And it's going to just be awesome when it's finalized.
Now, you had mentioned that your first contract was renounced, and this is a new space blockchain for us, like less than a year and a half. And there have been times in the development of the BSC space that certain standards were held up against projects that were launching that were indications that they were safe, right? And some of those went away and they're no longer the case. So that's a learning point for you guys to have met and say, oh no, that was not the decision, because now I've lost control over the changes that I can make to my contract. Now, how did you guys recuperate from that decision and having to go to another? You guys had to go to another contract, right?
Well, we still have that contract, and it's always going to be there. It actually, in my opinion, might end up just being massive one of these days, just because of the tokenomics. We're going to end up having it being hyper deflationary, where it's a bought and burn within every NFT sale, with every Ethereum transaction, all of it. So it's going to grow equally as much, if not more, than the Ethereum coin.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love burning, by the way.
I know. Yes. What were you going to say, Shawn?
Yeah, I think that we didn't know, we had no idea what we were doing, and we didn't understand. One of the big challenges with the BSC was it's not very easy to buy from the U.S. There's a lot of steps that have to happen, and when you look at our audience, it's overwhelming U.S. Patriotic. That community is really not, they haven't made the jump to crypto yet, and so just educating them about crypto is hard enough, and then then all of the steps you had to do to buy on the BSC. Whereas with the Ethereum token, our number one main concern when we were kind of at a crossroads, and we were out of answers on how do we, every door that we are opening is shutting on us because of the tokenomics. Well, really because of the renounced contract. And we have to make sure in any case that the current token holders are made whole. And, that's when we said, let's just build on Ethereum version 2. Let's build a bridge in an intermediary contract that automatically takes the daily trading volume, and it buys between 1.5% and 3% of BNB. It flips from ETH to BNB and then buys the mill BNB token and then burns it. So now you have that, a significant input of capital coming in every single day based on the trading volume. So the BNB will rise as the Ethereum rises, right? So that was the most important thing to us, because, it would have been pretty crappy of us to, just to say, well, we're just going to mint another trillion tokens, and, you guys can, it just wasn't, we couldn't, everything we looked at airdropping, that's incredibly expensive on the Ethereum network, because the gas fees alone probably would have been $500,000 or more. And then we looked at doing a swap, but then, we raised a private round for this Ethereum token, and the investors didn't want to have that many tokens sitting out there that were not locked up and not not with a vesting period. And so we really didn't have any other choices until we figured out, let's do this buy and burn on a daily basis. And that way, as Ethereum rises, the BNB will rise also.
It's the perfect ecosystem.
Yeah.
I love things that say perfect. We have a perfect machine over at DBT. Have you heard our huddles?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So, one of the things that I loved about what you said was, you kind of identified that there is a need for projects in this space to not just deliver their utility and hash out all the contract details to make sure that, you guys are executing the financial, contract that's going to get the utility underway and accomplish your mission. But unlike any other industry that exists, cryptocurrency does have a challenge kind of tied to it for any project leaders that are in their positions, which is you also have to teach people how to get into cryptocurrency, which becomes a whole nother task and utility, right? Because in this space, there are so many resources that people can use, but the typical experience of somebody walking into crypto is, let me go on to charting tools, and let me get introduced to Coinbase, and let me get introduced to crypto and Binance and these exchanges. And it's quite a while before somebody on their own would go over the learning curve and get down into like a place like where we are, the BSC space, and start to learn how to use Pancake Swap and open up Trust Wallet and MetaMask. Like the list just keeps on going on and on. And so aside from saying, hey, we're here to do a good thing, this is our mission, and having to deal with marketing and exposure and contracts, you're also trying to invite people both within the space and outside the space to help leverage what you guys see as the potential here in crypto. What is it, to walk me through in your project, how do you guys handle, the educational part for people wanting to invest in your project?
Well, we're going to take a little bit of a different approach than we've seen in the crypto space to date. And the two ways that we're going to do this, we actually have our first small event. So we're going to do live events, and we have, I think, 4 or 5 planned for February. We have our first seminar. We understand the same thing that you do. In the U.S., it's whoever's the first one to get out and educate the masses is going to win the game. And we have experience through our agency in putting on seminars for, say, like real estate investing. And so we're going to use that same approach. We're building the programming now to drive people into a seminar. 300, 400 people. We'll pull a list of people around a market area, drive them into a few hours worth of programming where we're going to educate people about, use our understanding of the crypto business and how it equates to the business world. And we're going to draw that analogy to educate those people. We'll bring in a speaker, an expert in the community, and then we'll present the token and our mission to them while they're there. And these will be high net worth individuals, middle net worth, and just beginners. And we're going to, once we get the programming down, then we plan on having multiple seminars in cities, all over the country. And so that's one of the approaches. And then the other approach is going to be live events. We're going to use headliners in the country music and music industry to put on our first big one is April 29th in Katy, Texas at Wildcatters. We're going to have a headliner like Aaron Lewis or Lee Bryce. And then we're going to drive a few thousand people there. In our kiosk, we're going to drive people into there to learn about crypto, to learn about military finance. And then we've figured out a way for people at that live event to transact with a credit card and become a wallet holder. And so, the approach that we're taking, besides we'll do all this crypto stuff, but this 6 or 7 months of us learning, we got a chance to take a step backwards. And we're in the agency world. When we jumped into the crypto world, we just did what everyone else was doing, which is basically the same tactics that we all know, the influencers, the AMAs, the all the giveaways. But now we were dummies, quite frank, because all we had to do was do what we do for business. Our businesses that we work with is understand our audience. So we went and did a deep dive on the data. 81 million Americans, so 1 in 4 Americans gave $100 or more to a veteran charity last year. So we started compiling a list of all of the donors to veteran charities, and then we modeled that list down to people. It was 81 million people we started with, and now we have a 3 million record database of people who have given to a veteran charity that also have a propensity to be into crypto or understand crypto. And so we took that approach across all of the different things that we normally do day to day, all the digital marketing, working with demand side platforms to deliver the message. There's a lot of legalities. Facebook and Google don't allow you to market from a digital standpoint about crypto unless you're an exchange, right? You have to be one of the big guys and you're basically just marketing your exchange. Well, now we'll be able to execute digital marketing strategies to that custom audience that we already have, honing in on the right. So our acquisition strategy is totally independent of the typical crypto direct marketing tactics, because with our token, that only gets you so far. And then what's going to happen after the buzz and after this, all of the hurrah of the launch, then that's not sustainable over time. And what is sustainable is taking data to reach people that are in the market that fit your mission. And look at the size of the market. $2.5 billion were given last year by 81 million Americans, and there's 40,000 veteran nonprofits. It's big, big, big business. And now we're going to start reaching people the traditional way, to introduce them to the project, to drive them to the seminars, to get them to the live events. And so it's a pure marketing play. And I think that's where we have a big advantage. It just so happens our skill set is right in line with what it takes to have a long, sustainable token. And that's why this is going to be different. You know, it's very rare in life you get a second chance to make a first impression, right? We launched on the BSC. We obviously, you know, built a lot of buzz. The reason we got from 10,000 market cap to 70 million in 5 weeks was because we went and put together deals that no one had seen in the crypto space. We were the first ones to sponsor a NASCAR. We basically overtook the Bitcoin conference last May in Miami. We owned the air, the sea, and the skies. We had all the digital billboards at the Logan Paul Mayweather fight. And so, you know, we just ran out of gas because the contract presented a problem for us to grow. And now we have the hindsight that we had learning, we ran really fast. So we made a lot of mistakes, but now we understand the picture now. And now it's a pure execution and marketing play. And that's why anybody looking at this, if you just look at it as a business and you look at is it a good idea? It's a great idea for us to help our veterans, right? What's the size of the market? You know, it's a humongous market. 2.5 billion last year was given. And then does the team have the ability to execute? And we have a really strong team from Jerrett, from our community is unbelievable. And then, you know, our ability to go execute a marketing plan, I think puts us in a different, you know, at a different level than most crypto tokens, because everyone else is doing the same thing. You know, they're doing the same exact thing, and we're going to come in with a much different approach.
And there's one really key aspect of all this. Everybody in the world pretty much knows what crypto is now, but I would say 95% don't want to take the time to learn it. The fact that we're going to be the world's first to bridge that gap and make it as simple as, here's my credit card. What happens to crypto with world first? I mean, it's been proven over and over and over again.
Well, we meet that face to face all the time. I mean, especially if you're in a position where you are a leader of a token and somebody asks you, what do you do? What are you passionate about? Or you start just sharing, you know, what you do. It's hard to not include that when somebody wants to get to know who you are just in real life, because we live this 24/7. But to your point, the challenge is, how do you onboard people into this space a lot quicker? Because we're always met with, man, I wish I knew. I wish, or they'll tell you the few family members or friends that they know. They go, oh, I know somebody that does that, and they do X, Y, and Z. They've made this much. And they always talk about, this person made this much. So it's two things. I wish I knew that. Let me tell you who I know knows it. And then let me tell you how much they made. But we're kind of missing all the in-betweens, right? To your point, you guys have really focused on traditional marketing efforts while trying to keep the faucets open and also addressing the internal crypto space marketing need. But that is ever changing, like influencers, their capability to move the needle, you know, during market downs, or the information is so prevalent out there that it's almost too much noise, that it's becoming ineffective at this point. So to find projects that are taking the traditional marketing route of, you guys have sponsorships and stuff like that we'll get to at the end. But here's our audience. Our audience is the DYOR token members. They're new to this space. So sometimes I look back in my first months here in crypto, and you know what I was taught by the people that I surrounded myself with? And I wasn't even on a leadership team. I just swimming around like a typical investor trying to figure out my way. I learned when CMC, when CoinGecko, when are we going to go on to an exchange, when, you know, when marketing, when YouTube influencer, when Twitter this. And it was just like, you know, that's what I thought this space lived and breathed on. And it took me a really long time to realize, no, as an investor, I need to hold these projects up to standards that I would hold businesses to. So how are you finding success in your project with, you know, the traditional marketing efforts that you guys have put into place? What's the response like?
Well, that's, as you see, we're actually launching on this Ethereum token, and we've kind of been coasting here for the last couple of weeks. But, you know, when we kick this off, this business model is basically designed to work no matter what. You know, Bitcoin could go down to $1, and what we're doing, going and reaching the average investor, not just a crypto investor, the average investor. it should create a system where no matter what the market does, we can continue to grow. But with the previous stuff, I just stuff changes daily. I don't see it all working like it used to. If you don't think outside the box, it's just never going to amount to much. You'll just be another average crypto. This is how you get to be a top 100 project right here.
Absolutely. Welcome to the show, Brad.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys.
So I was just having a talk here with, Jerrett and Shawn about crypto origin stories and how you guys are really doing things differently here in the crypto space with military finance. Could you share with us how you got into crypto?
Yeah, so I've been an early adopter of crypto all the way back in 2013. I remember telling my sister and telling my brother, I was like, "Hey, man, you guys got to buy some Bitcoin." And then they're like, "Man, there's that's nothing. That's trash." And then it wasn't, but I think it was about a year and a half ago. They're like, "Hey, Brad, you were absolutely right." I've been in seeing the birth of Ethereum, of Quark, of Chainlink. I've been around for quite a while. I've been with one of the original rug pulls way back in the day of Mt. Gox. It was the first exchange, the exchange that they used to sell these anime cards, and they switched up. Instead of selling the anime cards, they started selling the Bitcoin, and then they shut down and rug pulled everybody back in 2013. And I'm still getting messages from them, from the lawyers saying, "Hey, you're a part of this this exchange, and you lost a whole bunch of Bitcoin. Do you want to get it back?" But it's all in Japanese. I can't read it. So,
Well, Brad, I heard that you used to own a restaurant. So can you cook?
yeah, I can cook. Well, I still own it. So, it's a restaurant bar, and it was actually one of the most successful restaurants in Louisiana during the pandemic. And I'm really, really proud of that, because the amount of work it took, when everybody was at home, um, I had to kind of buckle down and make sure that it all worked. And I can cook very, very well. So I have nothing in my fridge at home. And whenever the kids, are hungry, we always just go out to eat, because dang, I don't want to cook when I get home.
So in your life, you've had a passion for, running a business in the restaurant industry. You're also, we call you an old school OG in crypto.
OJ.
Like if you've gone back that far, like if you're before 2017, I think you're super OG.
Yeah.
But you were best friend, or you were gym friends with Shawn. And how did you come up with the concept of the military finance mission to help veterans and first responders?
I'm not in the military, a big military family, but I'm the actual the black sheep of the family. I'm the one that didn't go in, but I would use the restaurant for veterans and for LEO, all the time. So when there's a lot of protests going on, when there's been a couple of incidents where police got shot here in Louisiana, and I've always used the restaurant as a fundraiser for these events. And I remember one time there's a Marine who got into a really bad motorcycle accident. So we ran in a huge, one of the biggest fundraisers in Louisiana for this Marine. And when the restaurant kind of got to a place after the pandemic where it was manageable, I sat down and said, you know what, how can we take a microphone to what we're already doing? How can we use crypto and expand charitable giving and helping people that need it the most? And that's how military finance was born. So I called Shawn. It was like 7:00 at night, and I said, "Hey, Shawn, I coded this coin, and let's." I called it MIL. I called military finance token. Do you want to be part of it, or you want to work with me on this? And it wasn't but a few hours later that we're sitting around a table at his office and saying, we don't really know how this all works, but let's go ahead and give it a whirl. And, and it doesn't matter how long that you've been in crypto. To be on a different side of it, it's kind of like having a car's a driver's license for a car, and just because you can drive a car for the past 20 years doesn't mean that you're a good mechanic. There's so many odds and ends and nitnoids within this side of crypto that you don't really see because you're on the different side of it. You know what I mean? But the amount of knowledge that I've received just in the past 12 months, I guess 8 months, it feels like 12 months, has been enormous. And I tell Shawn all the time, I was like, man, we got a PhD in crypto because you don't go to school for this. It's kind of just like doing, that's all.
Yeah, a lot of us have to come to accept and just put it out there that we are faking it till we make it when you first get into crypto. If you sign up on the exchanges, you're just trying out little things, you're trying to find all the information, you dive pretty deep. One of my previous guests said that if you are sleeping during the first month, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. That's exactly it. So, and I think it was like 2 months, 2 months of just no sleep. And it's a whirlwind for sure. It's a whirlwind for sure. Everything moves at the speed of light, in the crypto space. Markets change on a dime. Projects change momentum on a dime. It's really, really, really difficult to navigate and to have a 6-month plan, to have an 8-month plan or a 1-year plan. It's really, really difficult because things change so fast.
Well, yeah, sometimes that also includes the finish line. Like you want to get a Trust Wallet logo. Well, 2 months ago, the requirements were X, Y, and Z. Today, it's wildly different, right?
Yeah.
So we constantly have to stay plugged into what's changing. Now, you had mentioned that there was like an old school rug pull. Well, guess what? They're still around. And it's so prevalent in this space. We'd even mentioned before you came on the call about how you guys are tasked with not just delivering your mission for military finance, but it also includes having to educate the investors on how to get into this space, how to operate, how to avoid the scams, because we anticipate that if they're looking at your project, they're also diversifying their portfolio, right? So from your perspective, what are some of the biggest advices? The Dior community are all new investors looking to do their own research, stay safe in this space, and just get some wisdom and advice from people who are experts in the space. What do you think are some key points that people should know coming into crypto?
Yeah. So any crypto project, people think that the value of the crypto is the coin, but it's really not. The value of the crypto is the community, and you've seen this countless times with Dogecoin, with Shiba, with a lot of other tokens. The token is just a medium for people to get involved. And even so many people have so many different skill sets, and it doesn't matter if you want to hop on board XRP, if you want to hop aboard military finance or Shiba. Get involved with the project, see where it's going and see how you can help, because really the community brings a token over the finish line with every single project.
So I'll ask you this question too, because there's so many different industries that are emerging within cryptocurrency that are trying to, get exposure, and charity tokens are becoming more prevalent. What are some things that investors should look for in order to identify great projects like yours?
So that's actually a pretty good question. So there's a few different tests that everybody kind of goes through whenever they want to find out if a project is good for them, right? The first one is the idea good? And with military finance, the idea, the execution, the way that the DAO is set up, it's a pretty good idea. The second one, which is a super important one, are the development team docs, right? So it's very, very important to know who's heading your project and if they care enough to make sure that they're doxxed. And take a look at a company like Coca-Cola, or any other company, that when they switch CEOs to a good CEO, the company has a much better chance of taking off because of the vision, right? Even though that this is a decentralized business almost, you really do need to make sure that the development team has the best interests of the project in mind. And if they're not doxed, then that's a huge red flag. And the last one would be, is it scalable, right? So, with XRP, for example, that their main project is financial services to larger institutions, that's 100% scalable. There's so many financial institutions that could use that project. With military finance, 1 in 4 Americans donate, $50 to $100 or more per year. There's billions of dollars going into the space. Is that scalable? 100%. There's a huge market for it, right? So those are the real 3 litmus tests. Do you like it? Is a dev team trustworthy? And is it scalable? Once you get those 3 answered, then you probably have a pretty good idea if the project's a good one or not.
That's actually one of the benefits that we have, is the fact that we've already been doxxed for months and months. People come and eat at Brad's restaurant all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So this second launch has that unique just asset to it that we're all just that doxxed. I mean, you can't find a more safe project on that aspect.
Yeah, the DYOR network, we always put, those 2 priorities first. Is, do you have a docs team, right? That you can validate that's who they are. And secondly, do you have access to them, right? You want to have access to them to get into their minds, to figure out, where the direction is going next. What have we accomplished? What are we excited about? Are we still on board for our mission? What's new? People are hungry for that information. But yeah, if you have people hiding behind the curtain and there's no transparency, then it's definitely a red flag and a reason for concern. Thank you guys for sharing that. We're going to be wrapping up the show here, but I want to ask you guys, because the purpose of your token really comes from the heart. And you guys have already done so much in terms of being generous and giving back to the military communities. Jerrett, I think you had mentioned that you guys have donated well over $100,000 to military organizations. Can you highlight some of the things that you've done there, and what is the impact that you guys have made through that?
Oh, definitely. One of our first donations was with Ty Kyle Foundation. That's Chris Kyle, the American sniper. We were able to give them like $30,000. Let's see, we got the PTSD dogs. I think it's called The Rescue for PTSD. That's one of my personal favorites, because we're actually paying for a dog to be trained up for an entire year that goes and helps a veteran with PTSD. And we'll be documenting. There's a whole bunch more to come on that, but it's a really beautiful thing. We've done a couple other big donations, but some of the cool little stuff we've done, like Surprise a Soldier, where we flew a soldier home to see his mother, who hadn't been home in like a year and a half. Let's see, we got Help a Vet. We did multiple Help a Vets, where like one was a blind veteran here local to me. And we just went over there and spent time with them, and actually, went and got them groceries. And they had them in tears. And it's just really getting out there and making a difference. Some leg work and one-on-one type of stuff, which is what we're going to be focusing on. Everything we're doing is to actually directly help the veterans, not just donate big chunks of money all over the place. We want to make a difference.
I love that. It's something that your investors must be so, so proud of, to have the type of team in place that's really delivering on the mission and saying, hey, we want to do this, and not just that, we are doing it, and it's happening every single day, whether it's a big impact or a small impact. Every impact matters. What is next for military finance as you guys turn into the new year of 2022, which on the streets, it's going to be a big year for us?
I was about to say, we're days away from launching the Ethereum token, but before that is probably one of the biggest advertising campaigns I've ever seen. I mean, it's definitely the biggest one I've ever been a part of. There's going to be email marketing, social marketing, YouTube marketing, Google marketing, internal AMAs, third-party AMAs, press releases, video promotions, events and festivals, conferences and trade shows, concerts, promotions, giveaways, NFT drops, earned media, digital TV, which I still haven't got to see yet. They're having some awesome professionally made video made, and I'm one of the only ones who hasn't gotten to see that. But broadcast, radio, influential partners, and we got Todd LeDuc, Andy Stump, Keith McGee, Taya Kyle, Bo Bennett. All these people are going to be doing posts on our launch and working up probably some of the biggest hype ever. I mean, this combination package we're doing is never before seen. I mean, it's just unheard of. But, like Andy Stump's about to be on the Joe Rogan show. Todd LeDuc, if those that don't know who he is, he's a world champion in Monster Jam off-road racing. He's making his own apparel line. He's going to carry kiosks with him to all the races where people can be joining everywhere he goes. We're going to be doing some big racing events. And shoot, I don't even know how many events we have all together now, but well over a dozen already set in stone and probably 2 or 3 dozen more in the works. It's just unbelievable. It's a whole lot. I could keep going, but there's a lot.
Like, I can almost feel like nobody's walking into your community and asking when marketing, because you guys have definitely got that down. And, Brad, we were just talking earlier about how you guys are not missing the opportunity to treat this like a real business and do the traditional marketing, do the, get people who have a voice and have a presence, not just within the crypto space, but outside of it, and bring them into it for the purpose of accomplishing the mission. What you guys are doing is fantastic. All faucets are open. You guys are.
We're days away from kicking all that off. So probably by the time this podcast drops, we'll be within just a few days from really kicking off the party. I mean, it's going to be awesome. I'm excited.
Well, I'm excited to see, how your project comes along, but I will first want to thank every single one of you for taking the time to come and sit with me to just kind of spread some wisdom and advice to some people in this space that, some of them might be really succeeding and loving the fact that they're not sleeping, that they're going down the rabbit hole and figuring out all these brand new things about crypto, which is exciting, right? We know that feeling. But some of them, they're like, what is this? I can't get it, right? And so we rely on people like you to come in and calm everyone down and say, it's going to be okay. You're gonna learn what you need to learn, and things are gonna move fast. So stay flexible, stay adaptable, and go ahead and demand some really good standards. Treat these crypto projects like businesses and demand better from all the leaders that are in their place. And you guys are setting a great standard for that.
Absolutely. Like I told you earlier, I quit my job. This is my job now. I have to make this a success, and I'm going to.
I've done that myself too. I do this 24/7, and it's the same type of bravery that you need to have when you sign up for your first Coinbase account, right? And you start trading and you buy that token, or the first time that you use Pancake Swap and you're like, I think the slippage is right, or I think the gas fee, I can't calculate BNB yet, but I think it's okay, and you press that button to go ahead and swap. It's the same bravery.
I'm still scared when I'm paying people a large amount of crypto. Every single time I spend a big chunk of money, especially if it's actually Mills money, I get nervous. I sweat still.
You send the test one first, right?
Yes, ma'am. But every chance I get.
Here's $1. Did you get it?
Transferring your first crypto token. You remember transferring between wallets and how nerve-wracking that was?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Or or even trying to cash out for the first time, like sending your things back to the exchange to sell it. And especially if you're in the BSC space, you're like, wait a second, am I sending BNB or am I sending BSC? And so many questions. The moment that it's a one button purchase is the day that all of us LFG.
That's actually what I'm more excited about probably than anything else, is the fact that we have perfected that bridge. We are making that gap. And I think once that gets out there and the world learns of it, and we're just going across the country touring like we're planning, I'm not supposed to talk about how much money we can make or anything like that, but I think that this project is going to be huge, glorious, and beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna do very, very well. And everything changes so fast. But you take a look at OpenSea. They have I think they just reached 1 million users, which is tiny. It's so small. We're even with crypto. Man, it feels like a lifetime ago that I was in the forums, and then they just released Dogecoin, and I remember people in the forums laughing because it was just it was a cut and paste of Bitcoin with the name change. There was another code change where they, instead of 21 million, there was an infinite amount that they could mine. But I remember people laughing at it all the way back then, saying, Dogecoin, it's a novelty, it's this, it's that. And even me, I felt the same thing too. I was like, it's just a copycat. So I didn't mind it at the time. But it's crazy how things change. And if take a look at a project, and then the projects lose if the devs and the community quits, right? So you've seen it. I saw it with Quark Coin, where it had a great idea, great product, and the devs kind of left. Happy Coin devs left. Military finance, we're still here. Community still here. We're moving and shaking with the market. And take a look at Doge. Even though the original creator is not really into it, the community picked it up and then turned it into the powerhouse it is today, where you can buy a Tesla. I think you can buy a Tesla now with Doge.
I don't like talking about Doge. I had a tremendous load of it, and I let all the FUD get to me, and I sold it all at a cheap price, and then it went up to like 70 cents, man. It's still painful to this day.
You just never know.
No, you're not going to like my next question, because I wanted to end this show with, we got to connect with those that are new in this space. And if there's one thing that happens to all of us the moment you get in here, is you find a scam and you get scammed. What was your first token that you got scammed on?
Man, my first token I got scammed on. There's been so many of them. Really, I guess I've lost so much money in the scams. If the Mount Gox, BitConnect, I got with that one. I guess and then pretty much every single one that comes out of PancakeSwap now. I used to ape in quite a bit. Now I have a lot more trepidation going into them. To throw in a bean, or to throw in a BNB on a project, it's not like I used to. So even me, I take a look. I do a whole lot of research. I like to get into projects before they hit any exchange. So I am like I'm on the high risk side. Jet fuel, win fast, lose fast. But my first, I couldn't even begin to tell you how many that I got rugged. I just don't even pay attention anymore, and it doesn't even really upset me, because I know it's my fault, and I'm like, well, I lost it there. Okay, let's move on, and I just completely forget about it. But yeah, no. So you're gonna run into those quite a bit. But when you do start hitting those ones that give you the 5x, the 10x, there's no there's no stock, there's no property, there's no investment that you can do other than crypto you can get these gains. So getting crypto right is probably the most is the best thing you can do for your financial future, I think.
Absolutely.
And we're all early. Even though people like you have been in here forever, we're all still early. It can happen. What about you, Jerrett? What was the first scam token you purchased?
I can't remember what it was called, but it was a little gambling coin, and they let me play some free games, and I'm like, ooh, I like this. I went and looked at the pictures they had on the website and stuff, and the guy talked about being a godly man and everything else. I'm like, oh, this is somebody I can trust. put my money in, it went up a little bit. I was like, oh, feeling good. This is like my first ever meme coin, or second, somewhere right around there. And then a few days later, I was like, where'd it go? That stuff was gone.
Oh man. Well, let me give you guys some kudos because Brad, when you were naming out some of your scam tokens, I didn't hear any dog names too much. And Jerrett, you don't even remember the name of yours, but you remember the utility. Mine had neither. Not a respectable name nor a good utility. It was Diamond Balls. And I got into all the hype. TikTok was all about it, and I thought I was onto something, and put in a little bit. I didn't play with much back then because I'm a Las Vegas liver, so I know what gambling is like. So I maxed bet at $50, but I went and tried to check on PancakeSwap what it was worth, and I was like, okay, maybe I should sell a little bit because that's what they told me to do, take a profit, and I couldn't sell anything. So I tried to go back and find the TG, and it was completely gone. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew I was not in Kansas anymore.
You said Diamond Balls?
Yeah, thanks for repeating that and making that clear.
Does that have anything to do with DBT?
Not at all. We do have a shiny
I'm sorry,
disco
I couldn't
ball,
resist
but
it.
yeah, I know
Disco
you
Bird
did.
token's awesome.
Well, good luck to you guys in the Disco Burn Token semifinals Twitter poll. And we'll be delivering this podcast to the Dior token team. And let me tell you, just on behalf of the entire team there and all the members, thank you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming on, sharing your wisdom.
Hey, thank you for having us. I always enjoy talking with you, Carmen.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right. Stay safe out there, everybody. And that wraps up show number 2 of Crypto Chit Chat with Carmen Crypto. Big shout out to the leadership of Military Finance Token and their project. The special guests that came onto the show, Brad Dahl, Shawn Burst, Jerrett Porter, thank you so much for an amazing conversation. And a huge shout out too to DYOR Token, doing their part to positively impact the crypto space through education and a supporting community. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.